So, hi guys, I'm back. Cease is here. Yes. First off, let me thank all of you who have taken the time out to view the last video. Well, actually, not one, but two, the two-part videos that I put out, specifically looking at our situation in Dominica. And it really imploring all of us Dominicans to just temper ourselves a little more and also, ensuring that we understand that our actions will often have repercussions in our lives. And so I was just saying, to Dominica, I'm sorry. And of course, I want to thank all of you, even those of you who did not agree with my perspective. I thank you for viewing. I thank you for commenting. A number of people left me comments, and some of them are very, very encouraging, very uplifting. It shows that I'm not the only person even if I'm outside or even if I'm inside, I'm not the only Dominican who is interested and concerned about what is happening in our beautiful island of Dominica. And so I want to thank you guys. There were lots of positive comments. Some of them I even have to go back and reread. And some of you have taken the time out. Most of you, I think most people, I took the time out to respond to you and to let you know that I appreciated your comment. I think it's for us to have a discourse about how we can best deal with our matters as a nation. And so today I want to focus a little bit on something that came up from some of the comments, and one of the expressions was that as a people we need to agree to disagree. As a people we need to agree to disagree, and think about it a little bit. We have to come to a conclusion, to a decision that, okay, guys, we will see things differently, we will have different views, and so let us make an effort to agree to disagree. All right, so that is what I would like to talk about today. That's what I'm going to talk about, maybe some strategies on how we can do that, how important it is for us to agree to disagree, the benefits of having that kind of attitude. Occasionally I look at my notes, so I hope you guys understand. So if I'm not always looking at the screen, I hope you understand why. But importantly, to share with you what I think we all should remember, we all should ponder on, and it is something like this, agreeing to disagree, that is going to help us to maintain our democracy as a nation. You must note, guys, that throughout our Caribbean region there is talk of elections. For example, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, currently they're in mode of election. I think Trinidad and Tobago as well, they too are involved in election. As I told you, it's in the last video, Turks and Caicos just had elections. There are other islands, I'm sure, throughout our region who are currently in the process of thinking about election, and not just thinking, but actually going into the mode of election. And the things that I share here is not just for Dominica. They are applicable in every small island, and even if not even small islands only, but throughout any democracy in the world where democracy is being challenged. And so often when we see things like civil wars and when we see many unrest, it has a lot to do with the fact that the people have not come to terms with the fact that they can and they will differ in views, and that they have to come to a conclusion where, okay, I agree, we won't see things eye to eye. How can we work around it in a peaceful manner for us to get things going? So this is really what I want us to think about today. So just stay with me. Stay with me. Yeah. So first off, I want to say that, so everybody today, everybody must understand, first of all, sorry, that in life we will have different views. And politics is one of the things that can be the most divisive topics in any setting. In any setting, in any relationship, politics can literally lead to destruction of relationships. And in a small island setting like ours, where everybody knows each other, these divisions can feel like more personal to people. They can feel even more personal because we're in a smaller, knitted communities. But here's the thing. Not everybody will support the same party. That's one. And I need to say it again, guys. Not everyone will support the same party. Let us agree. Let us understand that. Because people have different things and reasons why they may choose something. Some of the reasons we may not like, some of the reasons may not even make sense to some of us. But in truth and in fact, everybody will not support the same party. Everybody will not share the same views. I said that. And everybody will not agree on the same issues either. So it's okay. But what is not okay for us, friends, what is not okay for us is allowing politics and even religion in some cases, but now we kind of focus more on politics, or maybe I should say our differences in views, is allowing these things to tear us apart as families, friends, relationships with other people, even in the workplace and even communities. And if we think about it, we don't have to look too far, where we have seen that communities cannot stand anymore because there is so much differences and so many difficulties trying to come to terms with why this person does not support what I believe and why this person doesn't support what we believe. And so there is a constant fight and a constant war. So there is a need. I mean, you and me, we must agree. There is a need for consensus. There is a need for us to agree to disagree. So today, let's talk about what it really means to agree to disagree when it comes to politics and why that is so important to our small islands. The first of definition of agreeing to disagree in a political context is that it means accepting that not everyone will share our views, and that's part of the democracy. It doesn't mean we stop caring about our issues, and it doesn't mean that we give up on what we believe in either. We will still care, we will still hold on to what we believe. But what it means is that we recognize that political differences in our lives shouldn't lead to personal attacks. They should not lead to personal attacks, the degradation of a person's value, the person's personal value. They should not lead to us tearing down another person. They should not lead to broken relationships, and they should not lead to division in our communities, Dominica, and the other parts of our region and the world for that matter. These differences, these beliefs should not lead to those things. And I said that before, but I cannot express it enough. I cannot emphasize enough how potent politics is and how it can cause us to not want to see each other. But this should never be. And by the way, politics is just one. We know of simple communities differences in our islands where some of you from that community and that community, you all end up going to the same school, or and because we're so different and we have our own little beliefs in what people say about our communities, we are very critical of each other and we don't get along and even have fights. Sometimes there are even little fights, and I don't want to call them gangs because I feel like that's so intense. But yes, gangs do exist in some of our islands, and gangs do exist even within our school settings because people are from different communities. And so even in politics, we see it where if we are not careful, guys, if we are not careful, it will destroy our communities. It will destroy our relationships with loved ones and friends as well. So why is it important? And I kind of tell you why it's important already, because the way in which I'm saying what the impact of our inabilities to agree to disagree should tell us already. If we don't have them, these are some of what will happen. But let's look at them. Because political disagreements will always exist, as I said. But how we handle them determines the kind of society that we will end up with. Yes, it will. First of all, stronger communities. If every election leaves families divided and communities hostile, then we are weakening ourselves as a people. You imagine? And it's true. If we allow our political views and our attitudes towards our parties and so on to leave our communities so torn and after an election, and some people never get out of election mode even after election, like election passed for how long? But some of us are still almost like it's fresh, it's coming, it's tomorrow, or even, it was just yesterday. And so we find that if we're not careful, if we don't learn to agree to disagree, it will weaken communities. And so, if we want stronger communities, we have to learn to get past the thought, and realize, okay, every day is not election, number one, and let us learn to strengthen ourselves. So, learning to agree to disagree helps us to maintain respect and to maintain unity, respect for each other, respect for our communities, respect for our nation, respect for the laws of our land, and to respect each other and to remain united as a people. Two, healthy political discussions. Something, in my view, that is still lacking in our island, and not just in Dominica, but in our region. We don't have the ability, we don't practice enough the ability to share our different views politically in a healthy discussion, in a discussion where there is a moderator that the speakers respect the moderator, they respect the time and the rules of the discussion, and they express their views in a respectful manner, along with an audience or among an audience who is willing to also understand the rules, respect the rules, and go along with hearing the different points of views. I believe if we can practice those things going forward in our political environments and in our political seasons, we will have a better society, and we will have a more understanding population where people will come to terms with, okay, that's what they believe. I don't really endorse that. But anyway, that's their views. I respect it. But these are our views. And so we're going to try to see where we can come together and have maybe a compromise from time to time. The other thing is that if we learn to agree to disagree, it will avoid toxic divisions. Now, there's division where we just don't talk to the neighbor next door. There is division where we don't talk to the person who is of a different party, but we don't trouble each other. We just know we don't get along. We just don't talk to each other. But then there is division that is toxic, where it becomes a case where you don't even want to see the person, you don't want to hear the person, you don't want to know they are breathing, although you are breathing, and you're ready to kill them. You're ready to get rid of them. You're ready to eradicate them from your community because they are blocking your progress, you think. That is toxic division. And that is not the kind of division that we need at all. Furthermore, we don't need any division. But granted, because we are so different, there will be divisions from time to time. But our divisions should not grow to toxicity, to a place where we cannot get along at all. We cannot sit in the same room. We cannot have a discussion about something that we see differently. That is toxic. Now, if we can agree to disagree, then of course it will avoid having such toxic divisions in our societies. So in many islands, political disagreements, they get personal. They get so personal that people stop talking to each other. People stop patronizing businesses. They boycott businesses that they don't think carries or sees their views. And in some cases, mark you, in some cases, I will say that it is necessary, some cases, but not all the cases. Because I am of the view that there's no reason why somebody should refuse to get assistance, okay, to help them to get out of their situations when they're not getting help any other place. They should never refuse to accept help because they don't support a particular institution or organization or party in that case, because your needs are your needs. Your daily bread is your daily bread. And if the person and people that you're supporting are not helping you to meet those needs, and somebody else comes, even if you don't subscribe to what they believe in, but yeah, they are offering genuine help, not trying to buy you, not trying to make you think that you are some puppet. No, but interestingly, genuinely offering help. It could be from somebody in the community, and you refuse it, then that's shooting yourself in the foot, in my view. But that's technical, it's tricky, but I'm just plugging that in there that sometimes even going to the extreme of boycotting businesses. And when we boycott businesses, we boycott our economy and we boycott our own financial stability as a nation. So that's something we have to bear in mind. And of course, toxic division, what toxic division also does is that it creates tensions to rise among the populace. Yes, tensions. People are tense and they're ready to pounce, and they're ready to curse, and they're ready to swear, and they're ready to destroy, and they're ready to, we have to be careful that that is toxic. And politics, in my view, politics should never become that, and it should never be placed before our shared humanity. Politics must never be placed before our shared humanity. And that's for all across the board. Remember, even those people in high places in power, they too must remember that politics must never be put ahead of the humanity of the people who they're serving. Because when you're a prime minister, when you're a minister, when you are a senator, when you are somebody in office in some way or the other, what you do is impacting the people that are under there, the grassroots people. And so you cannot, because they didn't support you, not help them. Because they didn't support you, you are not willing to meet them halfway. I know that is a natural tendency of people, but that is not what we are called to be as politicians. We are called to help everybody across the board. We are called to ensure that everybody's humanity is observed, respected, and assisted. You understand? So this to me is vital. So these three important reasons, guys, important reasons, and I hope you remember them, why to agree to disagree, we should probably take on. One, as I said, it creates stronger communities when we agree to disagree. Two, it creates a healthy an environment for healthy political discussions, not once, not twice, but constantly. And three, it avoids a toxic division to exist among us and in our society. So we know too that there are common misconceptions to the whole idea of what it means to agree to disagree, and we will clarify these. If you've not subscribed to my channel, if you like what I'm offering, I kindly ask you to consider subscribing to my channel. Help me to grow as I also help you to grow. We help each other. Iron sharpeneth iron. So do this for me, and that would be kind. That I would appreciate it, of course. So let's continue with our the common misconceptions of agreeing to disagree. One of them, it doesn't mean being silent. Again, does being agreeing to disagree does not mean being silent. It doesn't take your voice from you. So you can still stand up for what you believe in, but in a way that is respectful and constructive. So we can stand up. We can say what we believe in. We can say what we don't like. We can say what we don't agree with. But we must do it in a constructive manner and not a destructive manner. It must be honest. It must be respectful of the other person, of the other institution, on both sides, on whichever side, not just both. If it's three, four sides we have in terms of what's happening in our country, there should be a level of respect. So agreeing to disagree does not mean that you are muted, that you do not have a voice, because you do have a voice and your voice is important. So yes, you should use your voice, but let's use our voices respectfully. Let's use our voices in a way that is constructive and not destructive. Agreeing to disagree does not mean that all opinions are equally valid. They are not equally valid. Some points are valid, others may not be so much. So it doesn't mean because I agree to disagree with what you say that your point is as equally valued as mine, or mine is as equally valued as yours. Some policies or actions can genuinely harm people, and we know that. We see it all the time, and it's okay to call them out. The key is how we do it. I remember growing up as a young officer and even having to train young people. And one of the things I've always heard, and one of the things I've had to pass on to young people, is not so much what we say, but how we say it to people. It's not what we say, but how we say it. It can be destructive, it can be constructive. So it's not remember that while we may both have our point of views and we respect each other's point of views, it doesn't mean that our views are the same, equally valid point of view, and that they should be destructive in any way. Okay, so the key is how we say what we want to say to people and how we do what we want to do as well. So when we're making our points, how do we choose to make our point? Because making our point is not always vocalized like, oh, I'm doing now. People try to make their point in different ways, and some ways can be constructive and some ways can be destructive. So agreeing to disagree is not saying to you or condoning that we should do these things in any destructive manner at all. Agreeing to disagree does not mean giving up on change. It does not mean giving up on change. What do I mean by that? To agreeing to disagree doesn't mean we stop advocating for better policies. And it just means, what it means, however, is that we do it in a way that doesn't make enemies out of our neighbors. And that is hard, because sometimes people choose to not talk to you for you don't even know why, like no apparent reason why they're not talking to you, but they just stop talking to you. So there's not much power that you have in that. But at the same time, the idea is not for us to stop having that dialogue. The idea is not for us to stop relating to each other, looking out for the neighbor, helping the neighbor, because we're so cross at what the person is saying, that not even if they really clear that they have a problem, that we will run to their rescue because they're not seeing things the way that we see it. That's not healthy for any society. And again, so agreeing to disagree, it doesn't mean that you will give up on your desire for change. You will continue to make advocacy for the policies that you want to see employed. You will start probably proposing recommendations that you think that the powers that be should take on board, and so on. But at the same time, you do not allow it to separate and destroy relationships, as we need to have them existing among us and in our society. Okay, so agreeing to disagree, very good, but there are some things that it's not, and there are some things that it is. And I'm sure by now you get it, you understand, and hopefully you and I, we will take them on board and try our best to ensure that we give our best. At the end of the day, we give our best to um, agree, learning to agree to disagree, because that is what is going to allow peace to reign within our society. You can still be an advocate, you can still have a voice in your country, you can still say what it is you do not like, and you can create very constructive ways to ensure that that happens. Call, have workshops, have consultations, even have community visits, public meetings. There are lots of ways. Writing articles, sorry, in the papers, having a social media meeting sometimes, just using the necessary tools that are there for you to educate your people in a constructive way. And so sometimes you find that you will have more learning happening than the other way around, where we may not even have enough dialogue, but we just bring people out and create, a certain environment that doesn't allow for learning, really. It's just expression of emotions for a short time, but then the issues are getting lost in the whole thing, because then the interest that you had, the policies that you wanted to probably see happen, that you want to see happen, the policies that you want to receive the attention, is no longer at the forefront. The other things are at the forefront, are the things that maybe came out of that particular activity that people are now focused on, rather than what is the issue, what is the real issue, and how do we constructively get these issues dealt with. So agreeing to disagree is a powerful tool. It is necessary for every society. It's something that we should all take on board. It's something that we should all consider going forward in life. Or if you like what I share, feel free to leave a comment, a like, share your views. Even if you don't agree with what I say, just say what you want to say respectfully. And I read your comments and I try to respond. If someone is rude, I don't really entertain rudeness, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, if somebody may have a different view, I will read and try to see what value I can get out of what they have to say. And what is for me, I take. What is not for me, I respect, and we can move on. All right. So the key is that we can share, we can learn, we can grow together. That's really what this is about. All right. So, how do we practice? How do we practice uh, the whole idea of agreeing to disagree? What are some practical things then that we can do in order for us to ensure that we can agree to disagree into action in our small island and in the politics that exist within our island? One, listen even when you disagree. That is hard, because all you're hearing is in your mind is the nonsense the other person saying. In your mind is nonsense because you don't agree with what they're saying. But we still have to listen. Why? Because that's how you are going to know how to rebut, how to have a rebuttal. And kudos to all the schools, the college, the high schools who organize, and those clubs like Rotary clubs and so on, who organize those debates in our island. We need more of them, not just even within the school setting, but even among adults, in the communities, panel discussions, the people who take the time out to organize these things in order to create awareness on various topics in society. That is positive, and that's where listening comes in. We can only have a rebuttal when we listen clearly. Most times when people are talking, we're already thinking of our response. And because we're thinking hard of our response, we're not hearing what it is that the person is asking or saying. So listening, which is an art, it's a skill, it's something we have to practice to get better at. Yes, so that skill we have to employ. So we have to learn to listen even when we disagree with what somebody has to say. Too often, political discussions turn into shouting matches. Real conversations start with listening. Oh, and we hear it all the time, even in the parliament. Sometimes, if the parliamentarians are not careful, we start hearing them shouting at each other from across sides, and that's not listening. That's arguing. And in the house, it's not you can argue in a healthy way by listening, allowing the person to speak, and then you speak. But the debate, it should be more like a debate more, rather than an argument, because argument in most of our heads is negative. All right. And so in your debate, you present your argument, you present your perspective, but it should not be where we have a shouting match from across the room, because we do not want to hear what each other has to say. I often say, most times when people don't want to hear what the other person has to say, it's kind of cowardice. It's a certain kind of cowardice, because you're not sure that you can face up to the difference, or to the adverse point of view. All right, but life is about different it's about diversity, it's about the colors, it's about having a creative mind and a creative world where God gave us wisdom and knowledge and understanding, and because of that we're so different, and so we have to allow for the other person to have a point of view, so that we can get what another picture, another view, or even another approach to dealing with a situation, rather than what we think might be the only solution, the only actual solution. And so I would like to encourage us to consider listening before we rebut, listening to what the person has to say, even when we disagree with what they have to say. The second thing is to respect people over politics, respect each other over the politics of each other. Excuse me. So vital, so important. We have been losing our respect for people. We have been losing our respect for each other. And that's where people go down into the thing of calling each other dirty names, calling each other, calling other people, some very, very low, very, very sick, what I call disrespectful terms and names, expressions that we call each other. Not good at all, so it's important that we listen, yes, and it's also important that we respect people over their politics. So your neighbor, your co-worker, your family member is more important than their political point of view and their political choice. So let us not let our vote define our relationships. Again, guys, let our votes should not define our relationships. Clearly, that's what is existing. And we're almost becoming tribalized. We're almost becoming politicized to a point where, I say almost, maybe we're there already, I don't know, where we start seeing each other by vote, what party the person supporting, and the supporting a certain party. When we see them in Rosa Street, we're ready to kill them because they don't share our view. That is not politics. That is not healthy. It is not healthy. And we have to consider stepping back, getting or catching ourselves, recognizing now that's not the best way for us to approach our politics, but seeing the person for who they are, respecting the person, even if we do not particularly subscribe to or like their political stance, their political view, and or where they vote. A person's vote is a person's vote. It's a democratic right that that person has. It's their power, and you should not try to dictate it. Neither me, neither should I. And so we should not make enemies with each other because we have a different vote. And so we should not deal with each other based on our political point of view. We should deal with each other based on the fact that we're human, we're people. We should respect each other and respect each other's political point of view. Okay, so respect people over their politics. Know when to walk away. Ah, boy. We know that song, The Gambler by Kenny Rogers. And often we just think of it in terms of what the context of the song, of a gambling scene and so on. But if we think about it in life, we have to know when to walk away. We have to know when to say, that's enough. Enough is enough. I don't see this going anywhere. I think it's time that I just quit the discussion, or I quit the argument and I walk away, and be the bigger person and walk away. But some people do not want to walk away because they feel people say, oh, Mr. Weak, or she's weak. Oh, look, capo, you coward, you capo, they call you capo, and so on, to break you down and to make you think that if you walk away, you are capo. But actually, you are stronger. You are the bigger person. You are stronger because you are able to say, this is not working. That's not necessary. I'm just going to walk away from this. I think it's best that, because right now our discussion is not healthy. It's becoming it's evolving into a contest that might cause confusion. So I think it's time that I walk away, and we should be able to do that. And there is no harm in walking away and saying, okay, thank you for the time, but I don't think we're going anywhere with that. So when we can again, we will talk when I think we have a better perspective or a better environment. For now, it's not good. So let's walk away. Yeah. So the gambler says, know when to fold and know when to walk away, know when to run. Of course. So he says that. And so we have to know when to run. We have to know when to count our money. We have to know when it's enough. We have to know when it doesn't work. It's going nowhere. So let us quit. Let us move. And let us let go of that discussion for now. Okay, so agreeing to disagree is also being able to know when to walk away. And of course, to focus on the common ground. Don't tell me there is no common ground between the differences that exist in our country right now, politically, religiously, and otherwise. Yes, there is a common ground in religion. We all want to get to heaven. In religion, we all want to know that we're correct. We're serving the right God through the right church. But importantly, the bigger picture is heaven. Bigger picture is eternal happiness, religiously, right? And so, though we exploit in different paths through different faiths and practices, but the goal really is let's see how we can get to heaven. Let's see how we can be eternally happy, for forever. And then, of course, politically, it's I want to see my country rise. I love my nation and I want to see it improve, and I want to see my country get to a place where I feel happy to be called this country, that Dominican, Antiguan, Grenadian, Vincentian, Trinidadian, whatever it is. All right. So importantly, there is a bigger picture. What is the bigger picture? What is the common ground that brings both you and the person who is of opposing view from you to even get to a place where you need to be talking about a particular issue? So you find that there is common ground. Importantly, sometimes we ignore the common ground and we get personal. We ignore the common ground and we get confused and we get frustrated and we create, just mayhem and enmity and all the things that are not constructive. They are not healthy for us. So I say to you, as I say to myself, let us work on recognizing the common grounds and trying to not just recognize them, but hold them, practice them, keep them close by so that they guide our interactions as much as possible. So even if we vote differently, we all want better healthcare. We all want better education. We all want brighter futures for our children. We want better opportunities for all people. We want better housing, better. That's the truth. That's what we all want. Even though some people say, "Oh no, that's not what they want. Those that just want to fill their pocket. Those that just want money. Those that just." At the end of the day, the majority of us in our population, our populace, the majority of us, we have common ground. The common ground is these are what we see that we need, and we want our country's name to be well respected, and so on. So we have common ground. What we probably need to do now is take some time out and see what are the things that bind us together. What are the things that have the potential to bind us together? What are the things that have the potential to keep us as a united people? What are our common grounds? Or what is our common ground? And so once we find them, we can work together to keep them, to nurture them, to nourish them, and let them guide our discourse, and let them guide our interactions, and let them guide our policies and practices, and let them guide even how we differ in points of views. Okay, I know it's not easy, but it is possible. What it takes is a sound mind. It takes a bit of nurturing, teaching, and practicing, changing our modus operandi, you could say, where we start changing the script and doing the things that are more productive for all of us at the end of the day. So finally, and in closing, at the end of the day, elections come and elections go. But as I said many times, people stay in election mode. But in truth and in fact, elections come and they go. And once they go, we should probably focus on a bigger picture of development. But what stays, however, is our relationships with each other. Our relationships must always last longer than the election. Our relationships must always last longer than the party people, than the party. Our relationships must always last longer than the day that we went and casted our votes. And during the campaign, what happened? Our relationships must last beyond those times, because our relationships is what will sustain us in and out of season. And I always go back to Maria, when after Maria, I saw a nation that cared about each other, people who cared about each other, people who sacrificed, people who gave, people who supported, people who understood, look, we have to put aside all our differences and pull together to make this nation put it back on its feet. All right? And so we must not always wait for crisis situations for us to nourish and nurture those relationships and to ensure that our relationships are strong. We should really, really always let that be what we operate by. This should always be our love for country, our love for people, and our love for our communities is what should spur us on to make a difference and to always hold on no matter what. Okay, so as I said, our relationships must last longer than the election. Our islands are too small for us to let political differences create permanent divisions. Guys, permanent divisions exist and they are bad. And we can see it in places where there is constant unrest. Permanent divisions, they're destructive. And we should not allow our politics to get us to that point of permanent division where we longer want to stand for our national anthem. We no longer want to sing, take the pledge of our nation. No, our nation is bigger than that. And tomorrow, if you flip the script and you become a leader, a prime minister, a minister, a senator, a civil leader, and you have to live by by our symbols of our nation. What are you going to do? The same symbols you would have ignored at some point. And you want that same respect that when you walk into a room, students know how to stand, teachers know how to teachers and other people know how to recognize your presence, no matter who you are. Okay, so it's important that we practice those things now, and even when we're on the other side, whichever side that may not necessarily be in power, and so that when the script flips, because the script always flips in time and in life. That's how life, with that song, the world is a cycle. You know, everything goes in circles, and so things will change. We don't know when, we don't know. But in the point is that life changes, different generations, and so on. And so it's maybe not you, but your grandchildren might become leaders, and you want them to get that same kind of respect that you expect to get today. So let us remember those things. Let us nurture those positives. Let us agree to disagree so that our nations can stand firmly on their feet, so that our region can be a place where people they marvel at our politics, that we have a lively political environment, but we also have national pride. We also have people who are willing to get along despite or in spite of their differences in a positive way. So the next time, guys, a political debate starts getting too personal, when it starts getting too personal, take a deep breath and remember, it's okay to agree to disagree. It's okay to agree to disagree. Next time you find yourself in a setting where it doesn't work for you, and you wish it was the other way around, remember, take a deep breath, count from 1 to 10 in your minds if you have to, step back and say, you know what, I'm going to agree to disagree, because at the end of the day, if we just keep back and forth arguing, we're going nowhere. Okay? So with these, I want to urge us, let us work towards the ability to respect each other, to respect our relationships, to love our relationships with others, with society, with our communities. Let us look to build community through all the positive endeavors and the positive initiatives that we can take through sports, education, health, just name it, the environmental activities that we can do, all these things. Let us pursue those positives as much as possible, so that we can have a more productive environment within our Caribbean region, within our island, within our own places or communities where we live. It starts with the home, it goes into the community, it goes into the nation, it goes into the region, it goes into the world. May God bless you. May God bless us. Thank you guys for stopping by. Thank you for listening. Thank you for viewing. Please feel free to share your views, as I always say. And if you like what I share, please, if you've not yet subscribed, I invite you to consider subscribing. Hit this subscribe notification button, or also the bell, so that you can know whenever I post a new video again. I appreciate all of you. I love Dominica, as I always say. People might doubt. I know I love my land, and that's that. That's the most important thing. And I love my people. All right. So God bless. See you all around, and see you all at the next video. God bless.